You're welcome back from that quick timeout. It's still Daybreak here on Trust TV, and it's time for our discussion segment where we'll get to, talk about our topic of today, and we'll be looking at, the political landscape. We had that conversation yesterday during our phone-in segment where we spoke about the politicking and permutations that have been playing out, towards 2027 election. And some people are saying it's quite early, but I believe it's time to start making such conversations so you're politically aware on what decision to make when it's time to cast your vote, at that time. But as Nigeria gets up for 2027 general election, the country's political landscape is witnessing significant shifts. The permutations are changing, alliances are being made and being formed and broken, new players are emerging. So today we're analyzing the undertones and realignments that would shape the 2027 political permutations. Historically, Nigeria's political transitions have been marked by intense negotiations, power struggles, and last-minute surprises. From the days of the Second Republic to the current Fourth Republic, politicians have consistently sought to maneuver each other, outsmart each other in pursuit of power, and to an extent, the 2027 election promises to be no different because we're already seeing it playing out. Now, recent developments have sparked intense debates about the potential candidates, their strengths, weaknesses, and their strategies they might employ to win. The defection of Nasir El-Rufai to the Social Democratic Party sent a shockwave through political establishment, raising questions about the future of the ruling APC. Meanwhile, reports of politicians campaigning for President Tinubu's re-election have added another level of complexity to the entire permutations. Now, as we discuss the 2027 political permutations, we'll be examining the implications of this realignment, the role of regional and ethnic consideration, and the potential impact on the country's future. Now, joining me here in the studio is Professor Alkasum Abba, a renowned political historian who will provide valuable insights into the historical context and potential outcomes of these permutations. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor, on the show this morning.
Thank you.
It's good to have you. Now, some of the key questions we'll be exploring on the show is the implications of El-Rufai's defection, how APC has responded to development, and what it means for, our political future and the country, and also our democracy at large. What are your takes? Let's start off with this. What are your takes on what is playing out? Is it expected?
Well, it is not exactly what is expected at this time. But what is playing now is indicating the desperation to change the political environment. And that is why I think that people will say, okay, this is 2025. People are talking about an election which is coming up in 2027. But I think part of the reason for this is the fact that the situation in the country is not very good, especially the economic situation in the country. People are experiencing an economic downturn that they have never experienced, that nobody had ever experienced it in the history of Nigeria. And so everyone and the politicians want to also build on that, use it, to see if they can mobilize the public, first of all, rearrange themselves. This is the first time that the politicians are trying, the opposition politicians are trying to unite with one voice.
Okay, but we saw that happen in 2013 when APC was being created. Are you seeing the similar thing happening now? APC did what they did. They united. Several parties came together to form the APC, and they threw out the incumbents, PDP, that had ruled over a decade. Do you see the same thing happening with 2027 elections?
Somehow similar, but I must say that in 2015, people were thinking of a political savior for the country after 16 years of PDP rule, and they wanted to change it, but they also wanted to ensure that the person they will bring to change this was a person of some integrity, that when you put him on the ballot, people will rush for him. Okay. And we have seen this is what produced Buhari. And unfortunately, after 8 years of Buhari rule, it was all realized that everything about him, about the government, was really bad. There's nothing you can hold to compare with the image of Buhari that was being sold out in 2015. Now, you see, the opposition politicians are also getting smarter. You know, if you look at the 2023 election results, you find out that had Atiku and Peter Obi united, they would have won the election.
True indeed.
So, because they were divided, the APC won the election. And I think that what they are trying to do is to avoid this kind of disunity, bring together all the important political figures in the opposition. And you know, the defection of El-Rufai is the biggest, in my opinion, political blow to the ruling party, because it's one of the top politicians in the country, and his defection marks it's like 2012 when the PDP was facing rebellion from governors, you know, and it became important in helping to remove PDP from office in 2015. So this is the first time that you are having a very senior political figure from the ruling party leaving it and moving to another party, and I think it's politically significant.
So now that the SDP are saying they still see top defections from the ruling party to their party, what effect do you see this having on the potential ability of the ruling party coming back strong by 2027 election?
No, I don't think the ruling party can come back strong. The ruling party can only struggle to ensure its survival, because the situation of the country is not good for the ruling party. The economy is very bad for the ruling party, and unless they recognize this and do something about it, I don't think they will find it easy. And when the opposition politicians come together, then you know it is a sign of doomsday to the ruling party. And you know, in the social media, there's this list of quite a number of prominent politicians who are planning to defect to SDP. Now, if they defect to SDP, it means that the opposition politicians have also taken a decision. Unlike in 2015, when they created a new party, this time they are adopting one of the parties, move into that party, and raise the profile of the party. And I think this is what they seem to be trying to do.
So what other political dynamic are you seeing playing out beyond this? You know, we're saying, because I know someone made mention of what you said here, that SDP is a low party and it's going to take a lot for him to build SDP to a high profile party that will catch the attention of Nigerians. But what other dynamic are you seeing playing out? Do you see the Atikus and the Obis who have deep roots in their own political parties wanting to join forces? We know how unpredictable politicians can be, but do you foresee any move between these bodies who had major stakes and, you know, followership and people during the 2023 elections? Do you see them making permutations and such moves as RFI to build this party just to defeat the incumbent?
Yes, I think if you realize that this is the first time this is being attempted. Now, it's different. I would say that the political situation is as bad as 2015, but this situation now, the opposition is not trying to repeat 2015 by regrouping under a new political party, but they want to upgrade one of the parties to that level. What is important, in my opinion, is the ability of the opposition leaders to agree among themselves. If they are able to agree among themselves and they adopt SDP, I don't think it is going to take time to say that you raise the profile of the SDP because in Nigerian politics, the high-profile politicians are the ones who raise the profile of the political parties.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed, true, indeed. Now, talking about the stance of the opposition, it's safe to say that we've not had a solid opposition in this country. And Erifai made a very pointful thought when he moved to the SDP, saying that the ruling party has a hand in the commotion that is going on in the various opposition parties in the country. Was it expected, knowing that they wouldn't want the opposition house to be in order so as not to hold them accountable fully? And, you know, what would have happened differently if we had solid oppositions? Would you have seen the SDP having high-profile politicians move to them, or the oppositions would have stood a better chance, like the PDP and the Labour Party?
No, you see, the opposition parties had an opportunity to stand up, and they failed. Look at the PDP, because I was expecting that the PDP will stand up since the formation of the APC. But unfortunately, the PDP has not been able to stand up. And even when, what do you call it, Peter Obi came up with Labour Party, you see he was roaring almost as strong as the PDP from almost nowhere, the Labour Party. So it shows that there is limitation of the opposition parties, their inability to come up. You know, the economy is not good, but you don't hear the politicians focusing on the economy, what is wrong with the economy, and so on and so forth. They're just busy politicking, jostling, ensuring that they relevant. Yes, they're relevant. And so far, it's natural for the ruling party to create problem for the opposition parties in their own parties. So I don't think that somebody needs to cry because they said the ruling party is causing problem for them. If they have allowed the ruling party to cause problem for them.
All right. They gave room for that.
Yes, yes.
If I go by what you said. And indeed, the ruling party are playing their games as well. I wouldn't just want to cast them off saying that they might not stand a chance. I believe they would give it all fighting chance that they can give it. But let's talk about party ideologies. That is one thing that we've seen that is really, really to an extent non-existent in Nigerian political parties. What's your take on party ideologies and how politicians cross carpets from one party to another without even giving it a second thought? We've seen how Erifai just swiftly moved away to the SDP. You know, the ideology of SDP and the APC, do they align? We're looking at other politicians trying to move as well. What's your take on the lack of party ideologies and how it's affecting our democracy in Nigeria?
I think it's the most fundamental problem. Since the Second Republic collapsed, there has not been parties based on ideology in Nigeria. It's just that the politicians come up, they sell themselves instead of the parties, because the parties don't have material to sell. You say, okay, and I often say, if you go to UK, you say Conservative Party, people know what ideology Conservative Party represents. If you say Labour, people know what Labour represents. But here, you can raise the name of any party. They are all the same. Because if you look at the governments, which their parties control at the state level, you don't see any ideological difference between them. They are all the same. They produce the same result.
Sure. If
you have some person with some level of conscience, he can do things better. But you know, it is a tragedy for us that every time somebody finishes office as a governor, and when the EFCC goes to him, it is he's been accused of stealing hundreds of billions of naira. And I think that this has become a problem because the parties are controlled by the governors. Because they fund the parties, they do everything. So nobody in the party questions the governors. And you know, this is what has created crisis under Jonathan, when the governors said they were the one who will determine the presidential candidate, because they were funding the party. And Jonathan realized that if he allowed the governors to take that decision, they wouldn't support him. So that's how he brought Alhaji Bamanga Tukur, made him PDP chairman, and with a mandate to remove party control from the states to Abuja. And it is still difficult because Abuja is not funding the parties. The governors are the ones who are funding the party. So they control every machinery in the party. And you can't sit down in Abuja and give instructions when you yourself, you are being funded by the governors.
The governors. True indeed. Now, still talking about this defection, what does now this party ideology, what effect does it have on public trust and voters' behavior in subsequent elections? It's not the first time we're seeing, people at this point, people just vote for either the logo or the face. They don't even look at the names of the party. The lack of party ideology, how is this affecting voters' attitude and public trust?
You see, you also have to put into account winning election is not necessarily being voted by the electorate. Some people get voted by the electorate. Some people get themselves elected through a different process. This was started by the PDP, especially under President Obasanjo. Obasanjo will call you, make you a candidate, and he will ensure that you win party nomination and also win the election. I remember in 2003 elections, and we were doing a magazine called Analysis, and they were putting the results, and we checked. I remember the ones of River State, where quite a number of local governments had 100% voter turnout and 100% votes for Obasanjo. So I wrote to the INEC chairman. I said, this is evidence of rigging. But nobody replied me up to now. And I think that we also need to strengthen the electoral process to make the votes of the people really count. When votes are, that's why politicians become nonchalant. They can do anything. They will get it. It's not what you have to, if I don't perform well, don't worry. You are not the only one that determines whether I win or not. There are other considerations.
Well. All right, now let's talk about, we know that in as much as we try to escape it, regionalism, culture, ethnicity, tribal wars all play a major role in election. With El-Rufai's defection to the APC, what impact does this have, or would this affect the regional political alignment to the Northwest that he was given that advantage with the ruling party? How does this affect the ruling party, being that he has carried that his regional alignment to a different party?
I'll tell you, because I lived in Kaduna State throughout the tenure of El-Rufai, and I often tell people, and I also told him that his contributions, the development program and project he did in Kaduna State, no government had ever done it, and in that state. I lived in Kaduna State for almost 50 years as a lecturer in ABU's area, and after this, the development of infrastructure, areas that I never imagined could have even a road. El-Rufai has given us third roads and so on and so forth. And so El-Rufai has got significance, at least in Kaduna State, whether you like him or not. Everybody knows what he was able to do as a governor in that state. And I think that his defection from the APC is going to be considered a big blow to the party.
Indeed. Indeed. So what are those undertones and realignments that you predict would come up in the next few months that could give a blow to the APC and change the political space for 2027?
No, what is coming out clear is that the opposition have also learned that first, unite. Don't break yourself into small groups. I want this position, B will want it, C will want it, and we are all in the opposition. So I think this is the first time in Nigerian politics that the opposition parties and the politicians have realized that they need to stand united in order to have political impact.
But with the kind of politicians we have, do you really see that happening?
Yes, it's possible. Don't forget, these people have been doing politics for the last 25 years. And they were governors, former vice president, and so on and so forth. And in politics, you have to be realistic. What is possible and what is impossible. And that when you particularly hold public office, you now have to realize that there are things that you can do and there are things that you cannot do, whoever you think you are in the country. And so I think that this is very important for the democratic process. It's also very important for the politicians, and I hope the next step will be the emergence of ideologically based parties. Now, you see, in 2015, the problem was how to defeat the tyranny of the PDP. Now, in 2027, the problem is how to defeat the tyranny of economic suffering, which people are facing. And the beauty of this problem is that it has no ideology, it has no ethnicity, it has no tribe. When you cannot eat food, you cannot eat food. That's real. Nobody can change that attitude. And so if somebody has a solution to this problem, then it's the one that I think I will support. So we are moving to a stage whereby politics will be shaped by programs of the parties.
But do you think Nigerians are ready for this? Because like it or not, there's also that clause of poverty, and which we believe the politicians and the ruling party might weaponize in terms of buying votes, using money to buy votes from people and take their franchise. So what do you think? Do you think Nigerians are politically aware and ready, despite the economic situation going on in the country?
I think that you are underrating Nigerians a lot, because when you sit down and discuss with people, they really understand this problem. But when a situation whereby someone cannot feed his family, there's nothing you can go and tell that person. I tell you, sometimes somebody will come and beg, "Sir, help me with 1,000. I buy a cup of rice and then boil, put palm oil and salt and eat. And maybe just once a day." Now, there is nothing you can go and tell him about religion, about ethnicity, that can make him believe that this situation is okay.
True indeed. True indeed. Now, finally, before we go, do you think the media is doing enough when it comes to the coverage and, all that is playing or putting out the right narrative regarding 2027 coming up and, election permutations and moving? What role do you think the media can play better when it comes to informing the public, putting the right information out there, and also letting people know what is happening?
Well, the media has always been an instrument meant to influence public opinion. And so it is normally the goal of the media and the owners of the media to keep on influencing people. But you people in the conventional media do not have the monopoly of media now. The social media is the one that has greater impact on us. You wake up in the morning, you check your telephone, you have hundreds of items in the WhatsApp, all sorts of information, all sorts of news. Some is correct, some not correct, but the fact of the matter is that the conventional media, radio, television, newspapers, are no longer holding monopoly of media control to influence public opinion in the country. And I think it is challenging you people to do better than what you are doing now.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor. It's been a very, very I'll call it eye-opening conversation we've had, and also there's this thing we call it Koboko message. You know, you've flogged the right places and cushioned the right places. Thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you with us.
Thank you.
And to our listeners there, if you're just joining us, well, do well to catch up the conversation again on our YouTube page, Trust TV Life. If you missed out on this conversation, trust me, it's something you want to sit back and listen to. It's been a very, very informative 30 minutes here with Professor Alkasum Abba, who is a renowned political historian. And we've spoken deeply into, you know, all the permutations and what is playing out towards the 2027 election. I hope you've picked one or two out of the conversation this morning. But do not go anywhere. The show continues. Right after the break, we'll be looking at stories that made it to the front pages of our dailies. Do stay.